The warning lights flashed red across the communication center of Galactic Station Prime. Technical. Officer Velman stared at the screens with confusion written across his blue-scaled face. The message had arrived 3 hours ago, and nobody knew what to make of it. "Play it again," said Ambassador Zethkar as he entered the room. His tall, elegant frame moved with the grace typical of the Velthari people. As one of the Confederation's top diplomats, he had handled first contact with dozens of species. This should be routine. The message crackled to life. The voice was strange, rough somehow, speaking in broken galactic standard. "Hello. We are humans. We come from third planet of Sol System. We want to talk. We want to be friends. Please respond." Velman tapped his claws against the console. "The transmission came from Sector 7 Alpha. We have no records of any intelligent life in that area." "Show me the system scan," Zethkar ordered. The holographic display materialized between them. A yellow star sat in the center, surrounded by several planets. The third planet glowed a blue-green color, but the readings made no sense. "This cannot be right," Zethkar said, studying the data. "Check the sensors again." Velman ran the scan 3 more times. The results never changed. "Sir, the readings are consistent. The third planet registers as a Class 12 death world." Zethkar's face went pale. Class the 12th was the highest danger rating possible. These were worlds where nothing should live. Planets with deadly radiation, poisonous atmospheres, extreme gravity, or violent weather that could kill any known life form within minutes. "There must be an error," Zethkar muttered. "No intelligent species could evolve on a death world. It is impossible. Should I request a deep space probe?" Velman asked. "No. If there really are people living there, they might see a probe as an attack. We will go ourselves." Zethkar straightened his formal robes. "Prepare the diplomatic vessel. We leave in 6 hours. Velman hesitated. "Sir, if the planet really is Class G, then we will stay in orbit and conduct talks by video link." Simple enough. The journey to the Sol System took 5 days. During the trip, Zethkar studied everything the ship's computers could tell him about death worlds. The more he read, the more convinced he became that the sensors had malfunctioned. Death worlds were places where the universe seemed to actively try to kill anything that moved. Some had gravity so strong it would crush most species instantly. Others had atmospheres that burned through protective suits in minutes. Many had weather systems so violent they could tear apart mountains. No intelligent life had ever been found on a death world. Life itself was rare enough on such planets. And when it did exist, it was usually small and simple. The idea of a species not only surviving but developing space travel was beyond belief. "Approaching the Sol System now," announced Captain Mortek from the bridge. The captain was a Kretak, known for their military skills and practical nature, running full scans of all planets. Zethkar joined him on the bridge. Through the main viewing screen, he could see the yellow star growing larger. It looked normal enough, though it seemed brighter and more violent than most stars near inhabited worlds. "First scan complete," reported the science officer. 9 planets total. The third planet shows signs of massive technological activity. There are structures in orbit and on the surface. "But sir," the officer paused, looking troubled. "What is it?" "The planet is definitely Class 12. The readings are even worse than our long-range scans suggested. The atmosphere contains 21% oxygen, which is toxic to most species. The gravity is 1.3 times standard. The weather systems show massive storm activity. And, sir, there appear to be impact craters from asteroid strikes all over the surface." Captain Mortek grunted in disbelief. How is anything living there? Before anyone could answer, the communications station lit up. Incoming transmission from the planet. announced the officer. "They are requesting permission to come aboard our ship." Zethkar exchanged worried glances with the captain. "Tell them we would be happy to meet, but we suggest they come to one of their orbital stations instead." The response came quickly. "We do not have orbital stations. We live on the planet's surface. Would you prefer to meet on your ship or ours?" The bridge fell silent. These creatures lived on the surface of a death world, by choice. "Ask them about their environmental requirements," Zethkar said quietly. "Atmosphere, gravity, temperature." The answer that came back made no sense. The humans said they breathed the toxic oxygen atmosphere naturally. They lived comfortably in the crushing gravity. They seemed to think their planet was pretty nice, actually. Captain Mortek spoke first. "Ambassador, with respect, I think these humans might not understand how dangerous their world is." "Or," said the science officer slowly, "they have adapted to survive in conditions that would kill us in minutes." Zethkar felt a chill run down his spine. What kind of species could live comfortably on a death world? What kind of evolutionary pressure would create such creatures? "Set up a meeting," he decided. "But we stay in full environmental suits. And we meet in our shuttle bay with emergency medical teams standing by. Should I alert the Confederation?" asked the officer. Zethkar considered this. If word got out that a death world species had achieved space travel, it could cause panic. Some races might see them as a threat. Others might want to study them like laboratory specimens. Not yet. Let us see what we are dealing with first. 3 hours later, Zethkar stood in the shuttle bay wearing a full environmental suit. Medical teams waited nearby with emergency equipment. Captain Mortek and his security officers were armed, though Zethkar hoped that would not be necessary. The human ship appeared on the screens. It was smaller than expected, but moved with surprising grace. As it docked, Zethkar noticed the hull seemed unusually thick and reinforced. Of course it would be, he realized. Any ship that could survive launching from a death world would need to be incredibly tough. The airlock cycled open. 2 figures stepped through, and Zethkar nearly stumbled backward in shock. The humans looked almost normal. They walked on 2 legs like many species. They had 2 arms, 2 eyes, a mouth, and hair covering the tops of their heads. But something about them seemed wrong in a way Zethkar could not explain. They moved with perfect confidence, as if the artificial gravity and atmosphere meant nothing to them. Their eyes scanned the room constantly, taking in every detail with sharp intelligence. And when they smiled, Zethkar noticed their teeth were unusually sharp and numerous. "Hello," said the first human, a female with long brown hair. "I am Sarah Chun, and this is David Rodriguez. We represent Earth United Government. Thank you for meeting with us." Her voice was calm and friendly, but there was something underneath it. A hint of strength, maybe even danger, that made Zethkar's instincts whisper warnings. "Welcome," Zethkar managed. "I am Ambassador Zethkar of the Galactic Confederation. We are pleased to meet you." Sarah smiled wider, showing even more of those sharp teeth. "The pleasure is ours. We have waited a long time to meet our neighbors." The invitation came 3 days later. Sarah Chun's voice carried through the communication system with that same unsettling cheerfulness. "We would be honored to show you our home world," she said. "We understand you have concerns about the environment, but we promise you will be safe." Zethkar stared at the message transcript. Every instinct told him this was madness. Visiting a death world violated every safety protocol in the Confederation manual. But refusing would insult a potential new species and might damage relations forever. "What does the environmental analysis say?" he asked Captain Mortek. The captain's expression was grim. "Deadly in every possible way, sir. The atmosphere would poison most of our crew within minutes. The radiation from their star is 3 times normal levels. The gravity would cause bone fractures in Velthari within hours. And that is just the basic environmental hazards. What else? The biological scans are disturbing. The planet shows massive biodiversity, but every life form reads as extremely dangerous. Their oceans contain creatures larger than our ship. The land masses are covered with what can only be described as super predators. Zethkar felt his stomach twist. And the humans live there, exposed on the surface. According to them, yes, sir. The science officer, a nervous Pithak named Keshran, approached with additional data. Sir, I have been studying their ship design. The hull metal is unlike anything we have seen. It appears to be some kind of alloy designed to withstand extreme stress. The power systems are primitive but incredibly robust. What do you mean? Our ships are designed for efficiency and comfort. Their ships are designed to survive. Every system has multiple backups. The entire vessel could lose main power and continue functioning on emergency systems for weeks. Zethkar considered their options. They could refuse the invitation and conduct all diplomacy from space. That would be safe, but would also send a clear message that they considered humans too dangerous to meet normally. Not the best way to start diplomatic relations. We will go, he decided. Full environmental gear for everyone, medical teams on standby. And at the first sign of danger, we leave immediately. The shuttle trip to Earth's surface took 2 hours. Zethkar spent the entire time watching the sensor readings with growing horror. The planet was worse than the long-range scans had suggested. Massive storm systems raged across entire continents. Lightning strikes hit the ground thousands of times per minute. The ocean showed tidal movements that would destroy any coastal city on a civilized world. How do they live here? Whispered Keshran. Before anyone could answer, their escort appeared. 3 human ships rose from the planet's surface, moving through the violent atmosphere as if it were calm space. They flew in perfect formation despite winds that should have torn them apart. Welcome to Earth, came Sarah's voice over the comm. We will escort you to landing site Alpha. Please follow our lead and do not worry about the weather. Zethkar watched in amazement as the human ships dove directly into a massive storm system. Lightning flashed around them constantly, but they never wavered from their course. When his own shuttle followed, the turbulence was so violent that half the crew became ill. The humans never seemed to notice. Landing site Alpha turned out to be a cleared area next to what the humans called a small town. As they descended, Zethkar got his first clear look at human civilization. It was terrifying. The buildings were low and incredibly thick, designed to withstand forces that would flatten normal structures. Roads were heavily reinforced and showed signs of constant repair. Everything was built like a fortress, but it was the humans themselves that made Zethkar's blood run cold. They were everywhere, walking around in the open air as if the toxic atmosphere meant nothing. Children played in areas where the radiation should have killed them instantly. Adults worked in gardens where the soil readings showed enough heavy metals to poison most species. And they all looked so normal, happy, even. Welcome to Earth, said David Rodriguez as the shuttle landed. He stood outside without any protective gear, breathing the poisonous air as naturally as Zethkar breathed ship atmosphere. The diplomatic team emerged wearing full environmental suits and carrying emergency breathing apparatus. The humans watched with what seemed like amusement. You really do not need all that equipment, Sarah said kindly. Our air is safe. Safe. For you, Captain Mortek replied through his suit speaker. This atmosphere would kill my people in minutes. Oh. Sarah looked genuinely surprised. We forget sometimes that other species are more delicate. Delicate. Zethkar nearly laughed despite his fear. The Confederation races had conquered thousands of worlds, built stellar empires, and mastered technologies beyond imagination. But to these humans, they were delicate. "Would you like to see our town?" David asked. They began walking, and Zethkar noticed immediately that the humans moved differently than any other species he had met. They walked with perfect balance despite the heavy gravity. Their eyes constantly scanned their surroundings, not with paranoia, but with the automatic awareness of apex predators. "This is our market district," Sarah explained as they passed buildings that looked like bunkers. "We grow most of our food locally." "In this soil?" Keshern asked, his scanner beeping frantically. "The heavy metal content alone should make agriculture impossible. We have learned to work with our environment," David replied with a shrug. They passed a playground where human children were running and laughing. Zethkar watched in horror as a small human child fell and scraped her knee on what his scanner identified as slightly radioactive concrete. The child got up, wiped away a small amount of blood, and continued playing. "Does that not hurt her?" he asked. "A little," Sarah said, "but children are tough. They heal quickly." Tough. These creatures considered their offspring tough by standards that would terrify adult Confederation citizens. "What is that?" Captain Mortek pointed to a large structure on the edge of town. "Storm shelter," David explained. "When the really big storms come through, everyone gathers there until it passes." "How big?" Zethkar asked, though he was not sure he wanted to know. "Oh, the last big one had winds around 300 kilometers per hour. Lasted about 6 hours. The Confederation team stopped walking. 300-kilometer-per-hour winds would be classified as a planet-killer event. These humans talked about it like mild weather. "Do storms like that happen often?" Keshern asked weakly. "Every few months during storm season. They are not too bad unless they come with the acid rain." Acid rain. Of course, there was acid rain. As they continued the tour, the horror kept building. The humans showed them a small lake that contained creatures the size of starships. They visited a farm where the humans grew food despite regular attacks from what they called pests, creatures that would be classified as deadly predators on any other world. Most disturbing of all, the humans seemed to genuinely enjoy their lives. They laughed often, showing those sharp teeth. They spoke with enthusiasm about their hobbies, which included things like mountain climbing in lightning storms and deep-sea exploration. "We should return to the ship," Captain Mortek finally said. His voice carried a tremor that Zethkar had never heard before. "Of course," Sarah said warmly. "Thank you for visiting. We hope this is the beginning of a long friendship between our peoples." As they walked back to the shuttle, Zethkar noticed something that made his skin crawl. In the distance, partially hidden by the reinforced buildings, he could see what looked like graves. Hundreds of them. "What is that area?" he asked, pointing. Sarah followed his gaze, and her expression became solemn. "Our memorial garden. We honor those who died protecting our town." "Protecting it from what?" "Oh, the usual things. Storm damage, predator attacks, volcanic activity. Sometimes raiders from the wasteland regions. Raiders. There were human beings so adapted to this death world that they could survive in areas even more dangerous than this already impossible town." Back on the ship, Zethkar sat in his cabin trying to process what he had seen. His hands shook as he began writing his report to the Confederation. These humans were not just living on a death world. They were thriving on it. They had built a civilization in conditions that would destroy most Confederation worlds within days. And they wanted to be friends. Zethkar paused in his writing. What would happen when word of this reached the Confederation? When other species learned that an entire civilization had evolved beyond the need for safe environments? Some would want to study them. Others would fear them. And some, Zethkar realized with growing dread, would see opportunity. He thought of the Kretak hegemony with their love of conquest. What would they do when they learned of a species that could survive anywhere, work in any conditions, adapt to any environment? They would want to make slaves of them. The thought made Zethkar laugh bitterly. Anyone who tried to enslave a species that considered 300 km/h winds a minor inconvenience was going to get a very unpleasant surprise. 3 weeks after Zethkar's report reached the Confederation Council, the reactions were exactly what he had feared. The council chambers buzzed with nervous conversation as representatives from dozens of species debated what to do about the humans. Zethkar sat in the observers section, watching the chaos unfold. These Deathworlders could be useful, declared War Chief Grakmol of the Kretak hegemony. His massive frame dominated the speaking platform as he addressed the assembly. Think of what we could accomplish with workers who can survive in any environment. Several other species murmured agreement. The commercial possibilities were obvious. Humans could work in conditions that would require expensive protective equipment for other species. They could mine dangerous asteroids, explore hostile planets, build structures in environments where robots failed. The question, continued Grakmol, is how to bring them into the Confederation properly. Ambassador Threxen of the Peaceful Commerce Guild spoke next. We should offer them technology and resources in exchange for labor contracts. Surely they would see the benefit of trading their harsh existence for comfortable lives on civilized worlds. And if they refuse? Asked Council Speaker Vexnari. Grakmal's lips pulled back in what might have been a smile. Then we help them understand the benefits of cooperation. Zethkar felt his stomach drop. He had hoped his warnings about human adaptability would prevent exactly this kind of thinking. Instead, it seemed to have made them more attractive targets. Honored Council, he said, standing to speak. I must strongly advise against any aggressive action toward the humans. Their adaptation to their environment suggests capabilities we do not fully understand. You describe primitive barbarians living on a hell world? Grakmol laughed. What could they possibly do against modern military technology? Their ships are built to survive conditions that would destroy our vessels. Their people live comfortably, in environments that would kill most of us within minutes. Perhaps we should consider what other adaptations they might have developed. Fear-mongering, declared Council Member Zaktith of the Mining Consortium. These humans have valuable potential. We would be foolish not to exploit it. The vote was closer than Zethkar had hoped, but the result was the same. The Council authorized limited commercial engagement with the humans. Everyone understood what that meant. The Kretak would be allowed to try taking what they wanted, and if it worked, others would follow. Grakmal wasted no time. Within days of the Council vote, a Kretak battle fleet was heading for human space. The fleet was impressive by any standard: 40 heavy cruisers, dozens of support ships, and enough firepower to reduce a planet's surface to glass. Zethkar requested permission to accompany the fleet as an observer. His request was denied. The attack came without warning 3 weeks later. The target was a human colony world called New Texas, chosen because long-range scans showed it was lightly defended and had a relatively small population. Commander Rexenol of the Kretak fleet expected easy victory. The humans had no orbital defenses to speak of, and their ships were small and simple. The plan was straightforward: destroy any resistance, capture the population, and establish a base for further operations. The first sign that something was wrong came when the human ships responded to the attack. Sir, reported the sensor operator, the human vessels are not retreating. Rexenol studied the tactical display. 6 small human ships were rising from the planet's surface, heading directly for his battle fleet. It was either incredible bravery or complete madness. Perhaps they wished to surrender, suggested his tactical officer. Open communications. Let us hear their terms. The human response was brief and confusing. This is Colonel Martinez of the New Texas Defense Force. You have 30 seconds to leave our system or we will defend ourselves." Rexenal laughed. 6 ships against 40, and they were issuing ultimatums? "Destroy them," he ordered. The first barrage of plasma fire should have vaporized the human ships instantly. Instead, something impossible happened. The human vessels absorbed the hits and kept coming. "How are they still operational?" Rexenal demanded. "Unknown, sir. Their hulls appear to be absorbing our weapon energy." "Then fire more." The second barrage was twice as large. Several human ships took direct hits from heavy plasma cannons that should have cracked them open like eggs. Instead, they seemed to shrug off the damage and continue their attack run. "Sir, they are launching some kind of projectiles." Rexenal looked at his screens in disbelief. The humans were firing solid metal slugs. Primitive kinetic weapons that belonged in a museum, not a space battle. Point defense will handle those easily. But the point defense systems could not handle them. The human projectiles moved too fast and hit too hard. When they struck, they punched completely through the advanced Kretak armor like it was paper. The first Kretak ship died within minutes. A single human projectile penetrated the command deck and continued through 6 more decks before exploding somewhere in the engine room. How is this possible? Rexenal screamed. His science officer provided an answer that chilled him to the bone. "Sir, analysis shows that projectiles are moving at nearly 10% of light speed. The kinetic energy is enormous. And the metal. It appears to be some kind of ultra-dense alloy we have never seen before. Where would they get such materials?" "From their planet, sir. Remember, it is a death world. The heavy gravity, the radiation, the extreme conditions. It would naturally produce materials far denser and stronger than anything found on normal worlds." Rexenal watched in horror as more of his ships died. The humans were not just surviving his attacks, they were winning. Their ships moved through space with perfect coordination, as if the vacuum meant nothing to them. They fired their primitive weapons with accuracy that defied belief. "All ships, focus fire on a single target," he ordered. Maximum power. 20 Kretak cruisers concentrated their fire on one human ship. The vessel disappeared in a cloud of plasma and energy. When the glow faded, the ship was still there, scorched but operational. "Impossible," whispered the tactical officer. The human ship turned toward them and fired a single projectile. It struck Rexenal's flagship dead center and tore through the hull like it was made of cloth. Emergency alarms screamed as atmosphere vented into space. "Sir, we have multiple hull breaches. Engineering reports total power loss in sections 7 through 12. Rexenal stared at the tactical display. Half his fleet was already gone. The remaining ships were taking damage faster than they could dish it out. And the humans still had not taken a single serious casualty. "Retreat," he ordered quietly. "Sir, I said retreat. All ships, withdraw immediately." The human response came over the communication system as the battered Kretak fleet limped away from New Texas. "This is Colonel Martinez. You are no longer welcome in our space. If you return, we will consider it an act of war." The transmission ended, leaving Rexenal alone with the ruins of his career and the impossible memory of 6 small ships defeating a battle fleet. Back at Confederation headquarters, the news hit like a shockwave. A full Kretak battle fleet had been defeated by a handful of human ships defending a minor colony world. Zethkar received the report in his office and sat down heavily. He had warned them, but even he had not expected anything like this. "How many human casualties?" he asked the messenger. "None reported, sir." "And Kretak losses?" 37 ships destroyed, 8 more heavily damaged. Estimated casualties in the tens of thousands. Zethkar closed his eyes. 37 ships destroyed by 6 human vessels. It was not just a military defeat. It was a complete reversal of everything the Confederation thought they knew about warfare. The emergency council session that followed was chaos. Representatives shouted accusations and demands while the Kretak delegation sat in stunned silence. "How do we explain this to our people?" demanded Council Speaker Vexnari. "How do we tell them that our most advanced military technology was defeated by primitive kinetic weapons?" "The weapons were not primitive," said Fleet Admiral Zorthan, the Confederation's top military officer. "The analysis shows that human projectiles carry kinetic energy levels we thought were impossible to achieve. Their ships use materials that should not exist. And their tactics." "What about their tactics?" "They fought like they expected to win. Not hope to win, not plan to win. Expected it. As if defeating a superior force was just another day's work." Zethkar spoke up from his seat. "I tried to warn you. These humans have survived on a death world for their entire evolutionary history. Everything about them is designed for survival against impossible odds. Did you really think they would be easy targets?" "What do you recommend?" asked Vexnari. "We apologize immediately. We explain that the attack was unauthorized and we seek peace. The Confederation does not apologize to primitives." "Then the Confederation had better prepare for war with a species that just proved they can defeat our best military technology using weapons made from asteroids and attitude." The debate continued for hours, but the outcome was inevitable. Whatever else they were, the humans had just proved they were not defenseless. Any future contact would have to be on equal terms, or at least, Zethkar thought grimly, on terms that recognized the humans might be more than equal. The message to Earth was simple and direct. The Confederation regretted the unauthorized attack and hoped to Esta. The Confederation High Command refused to accept the reality of what had happened at New Texas. Grand Admiral Kesvar, Supreme Commander of all Confederation forces, stared at the battle reports with disbelief. "This cannot be accurate," he declared to the assembled military leaders. 6 primitive ships do not defeat a Kretak battle fleet. "The data has been verified multiple times," replied Intelligence Director Mothic. "The human weapons appear to be simple kinetic projectiles, but they carry energy levels that defy our understanding of physics." "Then we adapt," Kesvar said firmly. "Double the armor on all ships. Increase point defense systems. Deploy our most advanced shields." Admiral Threxon of the Technical Division shook her head. "Sir, the energy readings suggest that additional armor would be ineffective. These projectiles seem capable of punching through any known material." "Then we overwhelm them with numbers," Kesvar replied. "Gather every available ship from every member species. If 6 human ships can defeat 40 Kretak vessels, we will send 400 ships." Zethkar, attending as diplomatic advisor, tried one more time to prevent disaster. "Grand Admiral, perhaps we should reconsider. The humans have shown they prefer peaceful contact." "They have shown they can fight," Kesvar corrected. "That makes them a threat to Confederation security. We cannot allow a species with such military capability to exist outside our control." The order went out across Confederation space. Every member species was required to contribute ships to the largest military fleet in galactic history. Nearly 500 vessels from dozens of different species assembled at the staging area. Zethkar watched the gathering fleet with growing dread. Every instinct told him this was a terrible mistake, but no one would listen to his warnings. The fleet departed for human space with great ceremony. News broadcasts across Confederation worlds showed the mighty armada heading out to deal with the primitive threat. Public opinion strongly supported the action. How dare these Death World barbarians challenge the established order? 3 days into the journey, the first strange report came in. "Sir," reported the communications officer aboard the flagship, "we are receiving a transmission from Earth." Grand Admiral Kesvar smiled grimly. Already? They must have detected our fleet. Excellent. Put them on screen. The transmission showed a human female in what appeared to be a military uniform. She looked tired but determined. I am Admiral Chung of the Earth Defense Force. We know you are coming. Our long-range sensors detected your fleet 3 days ago. Several Confederation officers exchanged nervous glances. Their stealth technology was supposed to be undetectable. Admiral Chun continued speaking. We regret that you have chosen this path. Our government has authorized me to inform you that if you continue toward human space, we will activate the Pac Bond Protocol. Pac Bond Protocol? Kesvar muttered. What is that supposed to mean? The transmission ended without explanation. Kesvar ordered the fleet to continue. Whatever this protocol was, it could not possibly threaten a force this large. 2 days later, they found out what Pac Bond meant. The attack came without warning as the Confederation fleet entered the outer edge of human space. The sensors detected movement, but what they showed made no sense. Sir, the sensor operator said with a trembling voice, I am reading multiple contacts, but they do not match any known ship. Configurations. On screen. The main display. Lit up with an image that would haunt every survivor. For the rest of their lives, approaching through space were dozens of creatures that clearly belonged on a planet's surface, not in the vacuum between worlds. Massive wolves with thick metallic fur moved through space as easily as through atmosphere. Giant cats with gleaming claws bounded from asteroid to asteroid. And riding on their backs were humans in environmental suits, carrying weapons that glowed with deadly energy. What in the name of the void are those things? Whispered Admiral Threxon. The answer came from the science station. Sir, they appear to be various Earth predators that have been modified for space combat. The readings show artificial organs for processing oxygen, enhanced muscle and bone structure, and some kind of electromagnetic field generation that allows them to move in vacuum. That is impossible, Kesvar declared. You cannot just modify planetary life forms for space combat. Unless, the science officer continued quietly, your entire evolutionary history involved adapting to impossible conditions. Sir, these creatures show the same kind of adaptive modifications we saw in human ship construction. They have been engineered by a species that specializes in surviving the impossible. The first wave hit the Confederation fleet like a nightmare come to life. Space wolves, each the size of a small fighter, tore through ship hulls with claws that cut through advanced alloys like soft wood. Giant cats used their enhanced reflexes to dodge plasma fire while their human riders targeted weak points in ship armor with surgical precision, but it was the larger predators that truly broke the fleet's morale. Creatures that could only be described as space bears, each larger than a main battle tank, lashed onto Confederation cruisers and began literally tearing them apart. Their massive claws shredded hull plating while their riders planted explosives in critical systems. How are they breathing in space? Screamed the tactical officer. They are not breathing, the science officer replied in horror. The readings show they have been modified to operate in vacuum for extended periods. And sir, the electromagnetic readings suggest they can generate their own artificial gravity fields. Kesvar watched his fleet being destroyed by an army of weaponized animals and their human companions. It was like something out of a fever dream. All ships, focus fire on the creatures, he ordered. But targeting the pack proved nearly impossible. The space wolves moved in perfect coordination, as if they shared a single mind. When one was threatened, the others would immediately move to protect it. The cats used their enhanced agility to dodge between ships, making them nearly impossible to hit with main weapons. And through it all, the humans rode their impossible partners with calm efficiency. striking at critical systems and retreating before defenses could respond. "Sir, we have lost 30 ships in the first 10 minutes, reported the tactical officer. "How many enemy casualties?" "3, sir. 3 creatures killed out of hundreds." Caspar felt reality beginning to collapse around him. His enormous fleet was being destroyed by animals. Modified animals, yes, but still fundamentally creatures that should have been running around on a planet's surface, not fighting a space battle. "Admiral," came a new voice over the communication system. "This is Colonel Rodriguez. You are fighting Earth wolves, Earth cats, and Earth bears. They have been our companions for thousands of years. We have fought together, hunted together, and survived together on the hardest world in known space." The transmission showed a human riding what appeared to be a giant space eagle, soaring between Confederation ships while his mount used razor-sharp talons to slice through sensor arrays. "These are not weapons," Rodriguez continued as explosions lit up the darkness around him. "These are our family, and no one threatens our family." The second wave arrived an hour later, and it was worse. The sensors detected something massive approaching from Earth's direction. When it came into view, several Confederation officers simply fainted. It was a whale. A whale the size of a battleship, moving through space under its own power, with modifications that allowed it to survive in vacuum. On its back was what appeared to be a small city, complete with weapons platforms and launch bays for smaller creatures. "That is not possible," Caspar whispered. "But possible or not." The space whale opened its mouth and released a swarm of smaller creatures. Dolphins with metallic fins sliced through space in perfect formation. Octopi the size of fighters wrapped their tentacles around Confederation ships and began systematically disabling systems, and everywhere, humans rode alongside their impossible companions, fighting with a coordination that spoke of millions of years of shared evolution. "Sir, we have lost over half the fleet," the tactical officer reported. His voice was barely steady. "Recommend immediate retreat." "No," Caspar said through gritted teeth. "Deploy the planetary bombardment weapons. If we cannot defeat them in ship-to-ship combat, we will destroy their worlds from a distance." The order was given, and the remaining Confederation ships began charging their most powerful weapons. Planet-killer devices that could reduce a world's surface to molten glass. The human response was immediate and terrifying. Every creature in the battle zone suddenly stopped moving. For a moment, space was eerily quiet. Then they all turned toward the Confederation fleet with movements that spoke of perfect coordination. As one, they began to advance. "Sir," the science officer said in a voice barely above a whisper, "the electromagnetic readings are off the charts. It is as if every creature is somehow connected to every other creature." "And to the humans? Connected how?" "I do not know, sir. But the pattern suggests some kind of shared consciousness. A pack mind that includes both the animals and their human companions." The final assault lasted less than 30 minutes. Creatures that moved as extensions of a single will struck every Confederation ship simultaneously. The emergency session of the Confederation High Council lasted 3 days. Representatives from hundreds of species gathered in the Great Chamber, all struggling to understand what had happened to their mighty fleet. Zethkar sat in the witness chair, having been called to explain his interactions with the humans. Around him, the greatest minds in the galaxy debated what to do next. "The military option has clearly failed," declared Council Speaker Vexnari. 2 fleets destroyed, total casualties in the hundreds of thousands. "We need alternatives." "Economic warfare," suggested Trademaster Yilksanth. "Cut off their access to galactic markets. Force them to surrender through isolation." "Biological weapons," muttered War Chief Grakmol. "Find something that can kill them on their own death world." "Nuclear bombardment," said Admiral Zorthan. Crack their planets from orbit before they can deploy their creatures. Zethkar listened to the desperate suggestions with growing alarm. These beings still did not understand what they were dealing with. "Honored Council," he said, standing to speak. "All of these plans assume the humans are like us." "They are not." "Explain," ordered Vexnari. "Economic isolation will not work on a species that has learned to thrive in the harshest environment imaginable. They do not need galactic trade to survive. Biological weapons will not work on beings whose immune systems have been fighting death-world diseases for millions of years. And nuclear bombardment." Zethkar paused, remembering something Sarah Chun had mentioned during his first visit to Earth. "They told me their planet has been struck by asteroids that would destroy any civilized world. They survive. They adapt. They rebuild. Nuclear weapons would be just another environmental hazard to overcome." The council chamber erupted in argument. Some representatives refused to believe that any species could be so resilient. Others demanded more aggressive action. A few suggested immediate surrender. In the midst of the chaos, the communication system activated. "Incoming transmission from human space," announced the operator. The chamber fell silent. On the main screen appeared Admiral Sarah Chun, looking tired but determined. "Honored representatives of the Galactic Confederation," she began, her voice carrying clearly through the chamber. "We know you are debating our fate. We thought it was time to speak directly." Several council members exchanged nervous glances. How had the humans managed to access their private communications? "We want you to understand something," Chun continued. "We did not choose to become what we are. Our world chose for us. For millions of years, Earth tested us, challenged us, tried to kill us. Every disaster, every predator, every impossible challenge made us stronger. The display changed to show images of Earth, not the peaceful scenes Zethkar remembered, but the true face of humanity's home. Volcanic eruptions that dwarfed mountains. Storms that could be seen from space. Earthquakes that split continents. You see a death world," Chun said. "We see home. You see impossible conditions. We see Tuesday." More images flashed across the screen. Humans working calmly in environments that would kill most species instantly. Children playing in areas where the very air would be toxic to Confederation citizens. You attacked us because you thought we were weak. You saw primitive technology and assumed primitive people. You made a mistake that many of Earth's predators have made over the millennia. The images changed again, showing fossilized remains of massive creatures. Dinosaurs, saber-toothed tigers, cave bears, all apex predators that had once ruled Earth. You assumed that because we looked small and soft, we would be easy prey. Evolution taught us to use that assumption against our enemies. Council Speaker Vexnari found her voice. "What do you want from us?" "Nothing," Chun replied simply. "We want to be left alone to live our lives in peace. We want to trade, to learn, to share knowledge and culture. But we will not be conquered, enslaved, or controlled." "And if we refuse?" demanded Grakmol. Chun's expression did not change, but something cold flickered in her eyes. "Then you will learn what happens when death itself fails to kill something." The transmission shifted to show new images. Humans working in the vacuum of space without suits. Their bodies somehow adapted to survive in conditions that should be instantly fatal. Children learning to fight creatures that would terrify Confederation soldiers. Entire cities built inside active volcanoes. We have been evolving for 4 million years on a world that actively tries to kill us, Chun continued. Every challenge you throw at us is just another Tuesday on Earth. Every weapon you use is just another environmental hazard to adapt to. The final image showed something that made the entire council chamber gasp in horror. It was a human infant. no more than a year old, playing happily in what the sensors identified as a radioactive wasteland that should have killed any life form in minutes. "This is our latest generation," Chun said softly. "Born on Earth, raised on Earth, shaped by Earth. Each generation becomes more adapted to impossible conditions, more resistant to damage, more capable of survival." She paused, letting the implications sink in. "We are not just survivors. We are evolution in action. Every time you try to kill us, those who survive become stronger. Every challenge you present teaches us new ways to adapt. Every weapon you use against us becomes part of our environment to overcome." The display returned to Chun's face. "So I ask you, honored representatives, do you really want to continue this war? Do you want to keep selecting for humans who can survive whatever you throw at them? Do you want to see what we become after another million years of pressure?" The chamber was dead silent. "Or would you prefer to be our friends?" The transmission ended, leaving the council staring at blank screens. Zethkar stood again, his voice cutting through the silence. "Honored council, I have one more report to make. Something I discovered during my second visit to Earth, but have not yet shared." All eyes turned to him. "They showed me their history museums. I saw evidence of previous extinction events on their planet. Asteroid impacts, volcanic catastrophes, ice ages that would have wiped out any civilized species." He paused, making sure he had everyone's attention. "Each time, some humans survived. Each time, they rebuilt. Each time, they became stronger. The current human civilization is not their first. It is their fifth." The implications hit the council like a physical blow. They have already survived planetary extinction events multiple times, and each time they came back more adapted, more resilient, more impossible to kill. Trademaster Yelkson spoke first, her voice barely above a whisper. "What are you saying?" "I am saying that we are not fighting a species. We are fighting the end result of natural selection, pushed to its absolute limits. We are fighting beings who have survived everything the universe can throw at them and come back stronger." Admiral Zorthan leaned forward. "What do you recommend?" Zethkar looked around the chamber, meeting the eyes of representatives from species that had conquered star systems and built galactic empires. "I recommend we do something the Confederation has never done before. I recommend we surrender." The debate that followed lasted another day, but the outcome was inevitable. Species after species voted to end hostilities with humanity. The final tally was unanimous. The surrender message was simple and direct. To the people of Earth, the Galactic Confederation formally ends all military action against humanity. We recognize your sovereignty and request peaceful relations. We apologize for our aggression and hope to earn your forgiveness through future cooperation. The human response came within hours. Apology accepted. Welcome to the neighborhood. We look forward to being friends. 6 months later, Zethkar stood in the human embassy on Confederation. Station Prime. The building had required extensive modifications to accommodate human environmental needs. But it was worth it. The humans had proven to be valuable allies. Their adaptation abilities made them perfect for dangerous missions that would kill other species. Their technology, while primitive-looking, was incredibly robust and reliable. And their perspective on problem-solving, shaped by millions of years of surviving impossible challenges, had already revolutionized several industries. "You seem troubled," said Ambassador David Rodriguez, joining Zethkar at the observation deck. "I was thinking about evolution," Asthea replied. "About what your species represents. And what do we represent? Proof that the universe has a sense of irony. For millions of years, species across the galaxy have been becoming softer, more civilized, more dependent on technology for survival. Meanwhile, Earth was creating you." Rodriguez smiled, showing those sharp teeth that still made Zefkar nervous. Nature abhors a vacuum, he said simply. Someone had to be ready to survive what's coming. What's coming? Rodriguez pointed out the window toward the dark spaces between the stars. The galaxy is a dangerous place, Ambassador. There are things out there that make Earth look like a vacation resort. Sooner or later, the Confederation will face challenges that cannot be solved by committee meetings or advanced technology. He turned to look at Zefkar directly. When that happens, you will need someone who knows how to fight the impossible and win. You will need someone who has been shaped by adversity into the ultimate survivors. Zefkar felt a chill run down his spine. You think something is coming? I know something is coming. Earth taught us to see the signs. Predators always exist, Ambassador.